Hello and welcome to World Youth Day Central, your home for our coverage of World Youth Day Krakow. We'll be with you all week, bringing you stories from our team on the ground in Krakow and so much more. Now, the theme of this World Youth Day is Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. And this World Youth Day, of course, is happening during the Jubilee Year for Mercy instituted by Pope Francis. So the main events are all focused on different aspects of mercy, as are many of the side events. We'll be talking about that more throughout the week, but of course, to bring you those stories, it takes a team. And we have a team in Krakow and in Toronto bringing you our coverage of World Youth Day 2016. So, let's meet the team.
Szczęść Boże 100 lat, Jan Paweł II. That's the limit of my Polish language. I'm here at Inukshuk Park in downtown Toronto on the shores of Lake Ontario. And this park and this incredible monument behind me is the city memorial to the World Youth Day of Toronto that took place here in these very spots 14 years ago. I'll be leading the team for Salt and Light Television in Krakow this year for World Youth Day in the very city where they all began, in the mind and heart of Father Karol Wojtyła.
Hey, I'm Sebastian Gomes. This will be my third World Youth Day, my second as a producer at Salt and Light. I'm spearheading the English coverage on the ground in Krakow for you.
My name is Emily Callan. I'm a producer for the French department at Salt and Light, and this is my second World Youth Day, my first time covering it for Salt and Light.
Hi, my name is Rodney. I'm the producer of Salt and Light, but this is my second time to World Youth Day. My first time was in Sydney, 2008.
Bonjour, je suis Charles Le Bourgeois, journaliste pour la rédaction française de Ciel et Lumière. Je participe à mes 4e Journées mondiales de la jeunesse, les 2e en tant que journaliste.
Hi, I'm Chris Adamczyk, and I can't wait to go to World Youth Day with you. This will be my third World Youth Day.
I'm Deacon Pedro, and this is going to be my 5th World Youth Day. Last one was in Latin America, so I know all about that. This one's in Eastern Europe, a little different for me.
Sono Matteo Ciofi, giornalista italiano per Salt and Light TV. Questa sarà la mia seconda giornata mondiale della gioventù. La prima ovviamente è quella del 2000 a Roma, Tor Vergata, nella mia città.
Hi, I'm Vivian Cabrera. I'm the social media manager for Salt and Light. This is my very first World Youth Day ever.
Hi, I'm Richard. I'm an editor at Salt and Light. I've been to 5 World Youth Days.
Hi, I'm Alicia, and this is going to actually be my third World Youth Day, although I've never actually been as a pilgrim. I worked in Madrid, I covered Rio for you, and this time I'm actually going to be the Toronto anchor for Salt and Light's coverage of World Youth Day Krakow.
What I'm most looking forward to is seeing the different expressions of mercy that we will discover from all these different pilgrims from around the world, not only as individual disciples, but just the great show of mercy that this will be, the testament of mercy that this will be for the entire world.
I'm mostly looking forward to meeting pilgrims and having one-on-one conversations with them, especially those who are there experiencing it for the first time in the home of John Paul II.
I would like to share the joy with all the youth, meet the youth in Krakow, and then to learn what is mercy. See you there.
Et j'attends une chose particulière du pape François pendant ces JMJ, c'est qu'il nous surprenne, et dans le bon sens du terme, pour 2 raisons. D'abord parce que nous vivons le jubilé de la miséricorde, et ensuite parce que nous serons sur la terre de Saint Jean-Paul II.
I'm Polish, Krakow is part of my homeland, and I absolutely can't wait to be part of the energy of what World Youth Day will be with Pope Francis and all of you.
But it's exciting to be in Krakow, the city of saints, also the home diocese of Cardinal Wojtyła, Pope John Paul II, who is the founder of World Youth Days.
Vi aspettiamo tutti i giorni e la racconteremo ovviamente in inglese, in francese, in cinese e anche in italiano. Vi aspettiamo, non mancate, che andiamo a Cracovia.
And I'm most looking forward to living this experience with you virtually.
It promises to be a spectacular event between all of the main events happening in the different parks in Krakow and the various places that the Pope is going to visit. It is going to be one to remember.
Follow us on WYDcentral.org and join the Salt and Light television coverage. We're thrilled to take the World Youth Day spirit from the shores of Lake Ontario to Krakow.
Of course, we're thrilled to be bringing you all of this World Youth Day coverage. But World Youth Day is really about the young people who have traveled from every corner of the globe to Krakow for this celebration of faith. Among them, of course, are Canadians from across this great country of ours. So let's meet some of the Canadian pilgrims traveling to Krakow.
Hi everybody, I'm Archbishop Richard Smith from the Archdiocese of Edmonton. World Youth Day is just an extraordinary event. I've been to many of them. It brings together hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions of young people from around the globe, together with the Holy Father, to celebrate our faith, to celebrate our love for the Lord, our love for the Church, and the joy of being in communion together with Jesus. My prayer for the pilgrims that are participating in this event this year is that they will know the joy of knowing that they're not alone in the faith, that there are many, many thousands of young people just like them around the world who love the Lord and love His Church. I pray for God's many, many blessings upon all who are traveling to Krakow, and may they know within their hearts the joy of the theme, that the merciful are truly blessed by the Lord. God bless.
Hi everyone, my name is Shimon Bamburak and I'm the World Youth Day Coordinator for the Archdiocese of Edmonton. And this will be my 5th time going to World Youth Days, but first time as leader, so I'm really excited for a new experience. And my role in Poland will be to make sure that the pilgrims, all 270 of us from this Archdiocese, have a safe and amazing experience and adventure while in Wrocław for days in the diocese and Krakow for World Youth Days themselves.
I'm part of the coordinators group of the Youth Ministry Office here in Montreal to bring with us a group of pilgrims, Montreal pilgrims and from southwestern Quebec, to go to Poland to live this wonderful experience of the World Youth Day. And I think that the message, the theme that comes along with this particular World Youth Day is very pertinent, very important for our day and age and for the faithful in our church today, because it speaks about mercy and it has a lot to teach us.
So what I'm looking forward to most about going to World Youth Day in Poland is experiencing mission with my wife for the first time. My wife is a CCO missionary at Ryerson alongside the campus ministry there. And I feel like I'm very much a part of that apostolate. I get to spend time with her and the students on campus and experience that. But I feel like World Youth Day is an extension of that mission. And when we got married, it was our goal to be a missionary family. And so I feel like World Youth Day, this being our first mission together, it's really an opportunity for the Lord to show us as a couple what He plans for our missionary life to be like together.
Well, that's our sneak peek at some of the people on the ground in Krakow, but what are they going to be doing? For a look at the events taking place this week, we turn to the local organizing committee in Krakow for an official itinerary.
Pope Francis's visit to Poland will begin on the afternoon of July 27th. On the same day, Pope Francis will meet with the President of Poland, as well as state officials and Polish bishops. In the evening, following the traditions started by St. Pope John Paul II and continued by Pope Benedict XVI, Pope Francis will make an appearance at the so-called papal window of the bishop's residence to address the young people. On Thursday, July 28th, the Holy Father will make a pilgrimage to the Jasna Góra Sanctuary in Częstochowa, where he will have a moment for private prayer in the Chapel of the Black Madonna. Afterwards, the Pope will celebrate Mass for the occasion of the 1050th anniversary of the baptism of Poland. It is worth mentioning that the visit of Pope Francis to the Jasna Góra Sanctuary will take place on the 25th anniversary of World Youth Day in Częstochowa. Upon his return to Krakow, Pope Francis will officially join the young people for the papal welcoming ceremony at WYD Park. On the morning of Friday, July 29th, Pope Francis will visit the former German Nazi concentration camp, Auschwitz-Birkenau, where he will also give a speech. Following this, he will return to Krakow for the celebration of the Stations of the Cross, one of the World Youth Day main events, which will also take place in WYD Park. On Saturday morning, the Holy Father will visit the Divine Mercy Sanctuary in Łagiewnicki, including the chapel with the image of Divine Mercy. He will pass through the doors of mercy and celebrate Mass with priests, consecrated persons, and seminarians. After the Mass, the Pope will visit the sanctuary of St. John Paul II, where he will hear the confessions of 5 young people. In the evening, the vigil with the Pope will start with the adoration of the Blessed Sacrament at Campus Misericordiae. On the last day of World Youth Day, Pope Francis will celebrate the final Mass, which will also take place at Campus Misericordiae. And then he will announce the next city to host World Youth Day. Before returning to Rome, the Pontiff will have a meeting with volunteers at Taurun Arena.
Of course, what adds so much significance to this World Youth Day is the Catholic history of Poland, which gave rise to several saints whose lives have a key role to play in the life of the Church this year. First, let's learn a bit about the Catholic history of Poland.
When hundreds of thousands of young people descend upon Krakow this week for World Youth Day, they will be immersed in the rich history and traditions of the Polish nation, a nation that cannot be understood without Christianity and the influence of the Roman Catholic Church. It is fitting that this year's World Youth Day coincide with the 1050th anniversary of Poland's baptism. It was in 966 that King Mieszko I received baptism, and in doing so, he effectively baptized the entire Polish state. This was a defining moment in Poland's history, which is considered to be the founding of the Polish state and the entry of Poland into the Latin Rite Christian community. At a time of oppression, when the Polish state was erased from the map of Europe, and later at a time of communist slavery, it was the Church which was the place where Poles could find a space of freedom and the power for their struggle for independence. It is a true testimony to the strong faith of millions of young Catholics who refuse to forget their past. The celebration of World Youth Day with the successor of Peter, Pope Francis, will be an opportunity for hundreds of thousands of young people from around the world to experience this faith that has survived many storms and given rise to many heroic saints, including the late St. John Paul II, who will be watching over these events with joy from the Father's house.
Well, that long Catholic history produced many saints, two of whom are especially tied to this World Youth Day. One is Saint Faustina, the Secretary of Divine Mercy. And here's Emily Callan with this introduction to Saint Faustina.
Saint Faustina Kowalska. She would become Secretary of Mercy. Born in August 1905 in Poland within a family of 10 children, she received the name of Helen. At a very young age, she already felt a pull towards the religious life, but her parents were opposed to her entering the convent, and she herself renounced to it. While she was attending a ball, she hears the call once again and can no longer ignore it. She has a vision of Jesus covered in wounds, begging her not to make him wait any longer. She runs straight to the nearest church to pray and ask God what she must do. Go to Warsaw. There you will enter a convent. So she travels to Warsaw and joins the Sisters of Our Lady of Mercy. She is 19 years old. Her life at the convent was simple. She accomplished each of her daily tasks with ardor. Known for her faithfulness, obedience, and compassion, she had a deeply rich interior life, nourished by her love of the Eucharist, prayer, and her friendship with Mother Mary. She also practiced a rigorous spiritual and corporal discipline which eventually affected her health. For the last 4 years of her life, she wrote a memoir, her diary. In it, she describes her profound union with the Lord and shares visions she received as well as numerous conversations she entertained with Jesus. Today, I am sending you with my mercy to the people of the whole world. I do not want to punish aching mankind, but I desire to heal it, pressing it to my merciful heart, he told her. He also gave her a special mission to make known what the scriptures say about God's mercy and to spread the devotion to the divine mercy. By instituting a feast dedicated to it, by reciting the chaplet to the divine mercy, by praying at the hour of Christ's death on the cross, and by venerating the image of the merciful Jesus signed with the inscription, Jesus, I trust in you. Not long after Sister Faustina commissioned the painting, she was struck with tuberculosis. She accepted her suffering as an offering for the salvation of souls, and she died at the age of 33. Devotion to the Divine Mercy grew after her death, and John Paul II established a special feast for the Universal Church on April 30th of the new millennium on the first Sunday after Easter. He canonized her the same day. Through the work of the Polish religious, this message has become linked forever to the 20th century, affirmed John Paul II at her canonization. the last of the second millennium and the bridge to the third. You are the secretary of my mercy. I have chosen you for that office in this and the next life. That is how I want it to be in spite of all the opposition they will give you. Know that my choice will not change.
The other saint who is so deeply connected to both Poland and World Youth Day is none other than Saint Pope John Paul II.
John Paul II is patron saint of World Youth Day in Poland, and for a very good reason. He was born, grew up, and lived most of his life in this place. For Karol Wojtyla, everything began May 18, 1920, the day he was born in Wadowice, and where he lived for 18 years. He eventually moved to Krakow with his father to begin his studies in Polish literature before joining an underground seminary in Krakow. In 1946, he is ordained a priest and spends the next 2 years studying in Rome. After returning to Poland, Karol Wojtyla becomes actively involved in parish youth ministry in Krakow. As an athlete himself, he enjoys leading his students on hikes in the mountain and kayaking. Then, in 1958, he is named bishop. He later participates in the preparatory work of the Second Vatican Council, and then at the council itself before being named cardinal by Pope Paul VI. In 1963, he becomes Metropolitan Bishop in Krakow, and 4 years later, Pope Paul VI names him cardinal. Wojtyla quickly becomes a figure of authority and a reference point in the Church as philosopher, thinker, and theologian, gaining esteem beyond Poland. In September 1978, after the death of John Paul I, Karol Wojtyla is called to Rome to participate in the conclave, which would make him successor of Peter on October 16, 1978, becoming the first non-Italian pope of the modern Church. During his pontificate, John Paul II strongly opposed communism, and through his actions he promoted the fall of the Berlin Wall. A fierce advocate for human rights, he also helped improve relations between religions by instituting meetings in Assisi, an interfaith gathering for religious leaders from around the world. His pontificate was the third longest in the history of the Catholic Church. In 26 years of reign, John Paul II traveled to more than 129 countries. Part of the heritage he left us is the World Youth Days, founded in 1986. This time, the 31st World Youth Days are entrusted to his patronage in his own country in Poland. St. John Paul II was canonized by Pope Francis in 2015.
Our team in Krakow had a chance to visit a special place that was home to St. Pope John Paul II in several ways when he lived in Krakow. Sebastian Gomes has more.
Here at the Archbishop of Krakow's residence, currently Cardinal Dziwisz, but previously John Paul II, Karol Wojtyla, when we just celebrated Mass in the private chapel of the Archbishop, which is just behind us in this room up here. And Father Tom, it was a wonderful experience, obviously, for you to come back here. You've been here a few times, but one of the things that we realize when we come to this place is that the John Paul that we all know on the world stage didn't just appear from nowhere, that he has obviously a very deep and rich history, and a lot of it happened right here in this residence.
Today was coming back to the source, really, and what a great way to begin our time here for World Youth Day, because this was his residence when he was auxiliary bishop at the time of the Second Vatican Council, then Archbishop of Krakow, and then Cardinal Archbishop. And he came back here, he visited Poland 9 times as the Vicar of Christ, as the Bishop of Rome. So this was very much at home. And you know, they've maintained that spirit. Cardinal Dziwisz earlier this evening welcomed us with open arms and hugs and everything. And being in the chapel today was very significant, because it was in that chapel that Father Wojtyla was ordained clandestinely on November 1st, 1946. And the stories tell us that many times when he was bishop living under the very harsh communist regime, he would go in that chapel at night and lay prostrate on the floor. The sisters pointed out to me when I stayed here in November that they haven't changed the carpet. It's the same carpet that was there. And the chapel's very beautiful, with that beautiful silver frieze behind the altar of the principal churches of his life. St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, the Holy Sepulchre Basilica, Częstochowa, Mariacki Church, the church in Wadowice, and then, of course, the relic to the left of the altar, which is the vial of his blood that many of us venerated. So today was an extremely moving experience with this group of people from all over the United States. They just showed up And they put
as happens at World Youth Days from time to time.
One of the themes, Sebastian, as I've told you, is spontaneity, which requires great patience and joy. And we did experience that. And of course, to have Tony Melendez here with us, that brilliant Hispanic singer from the United States. You know, the gospel was about how Jesus prays with his hands, and Tony taught us and teaches us how to pray with his feet. That memory of Tony singing for the Pope in Los Angeles in 1987, and the Pope bounding off the stage and jumping down and going to hug Tony and thanking Tony. Tonight, a lot of things came together for us.
Absolutely. Beautiful experience to kick off our coverage and our experience of World Youth Day Krakow 2016.
Now, there are a few other elements that are actually common to every World Youth Day: a theme song, a logo, and patron saints. And this World Youth Day is no different. We've met two of the patron saints. Now let's take a look at the logo for Krakow 2016.
The official World Youth Day logo personifies this year's theme, "Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy," taken from the Gospel of Matthew chapter 5, verse 7. All three colors used to create the logo, blue, red, and yellow, are the official colors of the city of Krakow and its coat of arms, where young pilgrims from all over the world are gathering. The outline of the logo symbolizes the geographical contour of Poland. The yellow circle represents Krakow and the youth attending the meeting. The flame evokes the image of the divine mercy and recalls the two streams of water and blood gushing forth from Jesus. The cross, Jesus, who is at the heart of World Youth Day. As for every World Youth Day, the theme and logo represent specific traits of the host city and country. Just as Poland is closely linked to its Catholic heritage, so it is also with the theme of mercy. Poland has given us several saints for whom mercy was a central part of their spirituality, namely St. Faustina and John Paul II, patron saints of this year's World Youth Day. This year is an especially significant time to hold the 31st World Youth Day, since the Holy Father proclaimed an extraordinary Jubilee Year of Mercy, which opened December 8, 2014, and will end next November. When he called it, Pope Francis hoped this Jubilee would allow everyone to rediscover and render fruitful God's mercy. The World Youth Day is one path which allows young pilgrims to have this encounter, and they will do so accompanied by the saints.
That second element that pilgrims look forward to discovering is the theme song. As always, it reflects the theme of World Youth Day. And here's a look now at Blessed Are the Merciful, the Krakow 2016 theme song.
To breathe new life into us.
Inspired by this year's World Youth Day theme, the official song was written by Jacob Blihausch after being selected out of 94 applications by the organizing committee. The first ones to interpret the song were accompanied by a choir of 47 voices and a full orchestra, with the help of traditional Polish instruments such as the hurdy-gurdy or the kobrowa lyre and the Highlander violin. The song was translated into 15 languages. It is the second time an official World Youth Day song is composed by a Polish artist. In 1991, the Dominican father Jan Agora wrote Abba Father for the 6th World Youth Day in Częstochowa, Poland.
As pilgrims finally begin to arrive in Krakow, you have to wonder, what are the organizers thinking? Years of planning and preparation are finally coming to fruition. Well, Sebastian caught up with Father João Chagas from the Pontifical Council for the Laity. Father Chagas is the head of the youth section, which actually oversees all World Youth Days.
We have just finished the week in the dioceses. And I was just talking with the responsible for the Italian group in Marche region. He was very happy, and he says for the groups who come to these days in the dioceses, World Youth Day can be much better because they live the experience of World Youth Day in the small dimension, and they come here to meet the Pope and to meet youth from all over the world. So now we hope World Youth Day here in Krakow will be still better.
Speak about the theme of mercy. What's the significance of that at this moment?
Yes, the Pope said that the theme of this World Youth Day would be about mercy. On September 2013, the Jubilee of Mercy was announced only 1 year and a half after. So the theme of World Youth Day was decided before. And as we know, the theme of mercy is one of the main themes of the pontificate. So the Pope wrote also a message to the youth from all over the world I think it was last September, about this theme. And he invites youth from all over the world to have a personal experience with the mercy of the Lord and to spread out this experience to the whole world. And Krakow is the city of John Paul II and St. Faustina. So in a certain sense is the world capital of the Divine Mercy devotion.
And finally, considering the theme of mercy, what is your hope for young people from the Pontifical Council standpoint to experience during this World Youth Day?
French Episcopal Conference made a research with youngsters who come to World Youth Day. They are about 35,000. And around 70% said they wanted to have a strong spiritual experience. So I hope that this desire will be fulfilled, and I'm sure it will be. The Lord will certainly give to these youngsters a strong experience with His mercy.
Well, that's all for today's edition of World Youth Day Central. Of course, we'll be with you all week, bringing you coverage of all World Youth Day events. Tomorrow is the official opening day of World Youth Day. Tune in at 11:30 a.m. Eastern for live coverage of the opening Mass. Plus, we'll have details about the opening ceremony, which highlights some of the places that are linked to the history of St. Pope John Paul II, and a look at some of the other things that pilgrims can take in while in Krakow. But we'll leave you now with a memory from World Youth Days past, as they were lived by some of our team. From everyone here, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.
So World Youth Day Rio in 2013 was exceptional for so many reasons, but the biggest one was that this was Pope Francis's first international trip. And not only that, being a Latin American, going back to Latin America. And you know, World Youth Days are always chaotic, and I remember when he first landed, he got in the car. It was the simple car. It was the first time we had seen him kind of like on an international trip, obviously, driving a simple car. And he just immediately gets caught in this ridiculous traffic jam. I mean, the driver obviously took a wrong turn. They hadn't mapped it out properly. They were coming from the airport, and the Pope is getting just mobbed by all these people when they start to realize that he's in the car. And the images are incredible. Like from the helicopter looking down, you just see this little simple car being swarmed by all these people. The security is obviously going crazy. There's like the road is packed and blocked ahead of them. We have no idea what's going to happen. These people are reaching inside and grabbing the Pope. Everybody else has their windows up, and the Pope has his window down, reaching out and like touching the people. And later we found out that even though you know, the security was afraid of what was happening and worried about the Pope's safety, the Pope was actually, he looked very peaceful. He looked very calm, cool, and collected. And that kind of kicked off the World Youth Day. We said, oh my gosh, you know, this is going to be a chaotic week. But it gives you some sense too of how the people felt close to Pope Francis and wanted to be close to